5 of interfacing. We have the topic which is DSP based biotelemetry receiver and speech processing system. So normally these are the applications what we discuss here. The first thing is about DSP based biotelemetry receiver. Normally a biotelemetry involves transfer of physiological information from one remote place to another for the purpose of obtaining any opinion from an expert. So that is what the application of this biotelemetry receiver is meant for. So biotelemetry is nothing but a transfer of some information, physiological information, from one remote place to other for obtaining some opinion from the expert. Okay, so that is what we use. And the receiver normally uses RF links, that is radio frequency links. We look into the schematic diagram next of biotelemetry receiver. Then the biological signals may be because whatever physiological information we consider to get it, so that is a biological signal, and it may be a single dimensional signal such as ECG and EEG, or any two-dimensional signal such as an image, that is normally an X-ray. Okay, so we come across the biological signals which may be single dimension or two-dimensional signal. So if it is a single dimension, we can have an application for ECG and EEG, or if it is an image, it is a two-dimensional, normally an X-ray. And also the signal can be multi-dimensional, that is a 3D picture. So even that can be considered as a part of a application here. And the signals at the source, they are encoded, modulated and transmitted. So that is done at the source. Normally when we consider a source and a destination, some operations or some process are done during a process of during a in the process of this telemetry receiver, that is they are encoded, the signals are encoded at the source, they are modulated and they are transmitted. Similarly, at the destination, they are decoded, demodulated and they are analyzed. So whatever operations is carried out at the destination is exactly the opposite operations which is come across in the source. Okay. So we can see that in the diagram biotelemetry receiver, we can see that there is a demodulator. So this is normally at the end of a destination. At the destination end, demodulator, analog signal processing. Then it is fed to a DSP, then a digital interface to a DAC. Okay, DSP is connected to a DAC to a digital interface. So this is multiple channel DAC, and the output of a DAC is either ECG signal or any other single or one-dimensional signal. So here we come across an example of processing the ECG signal, and this ECG signal used here is one-dimensional, and the scheme involves the modulation of an ECG signal by using a process of pulse position modulation, PPM. So the modulation is done according to the position of the pulse. So that is for PPM, pulse position modulation. So the pulse, the presence or absence of the pulse or the position of the pulse is used in the modulation process. So at the receiving end, it is demodulated, and this is followed by a determination of a heart rate. So that is what we have. The ECG and heart rate, they are specified as a multiple channel DAC output. Then PPM signal either encodes a signal which is single or multiple signal. So that is what we considered earlier. It can work for a single a dimensional signal or a two-dimensional signal or a multi-dimensional signal, normally depending on the requirement or application. The principle of modulation being that the position of the pulse decides the sample value. So that is the ppm uh, basic process. And the PPM signal with the two ECG signals are encoded, which is shown in the diagram earlier. The transmission requires a sync signal which has two pulses of equal interval to mark beginning of a cycle. So we require a transmission which is to be done, and it requires a sync signal which has got two pulses of equal interval to mark beginning of a pulse. So we can see that with the diagram later. The sync pulses are followed by a certain time gap based on the amplitude of the sample of the first signal to be transmitted. Whatever sync pulses we are going to use, they are followed by a certain time gap based on the amplitude of the sample of the first signal which is to be transmitted. So that is what we have to note in terms of the gap which is between the sync pulses. At the end of this time interval, there is another pulse. This is again followed by a time gap which is based on the amplitude of the sample. So the time gap is always based on the amplitude of the sample here. And for the second signal, again it is to be transmitted. So for each signal sample, it is going to check the amplitude of the signal, and depending on the amplitude of the signal, the gap between the samples or sync pulses are identified. So after encoding all the samples, there is a compensation time gap followed by the sync pulses to mark the beginning of next set of samples. Then the third signal may be encoded in either of the intervals of first or second signal. So after encoding all these samples, there is a compensation time gap followed by the sync pulses, which can mark the beginning of next set of samples in the process. Then the third signal may be considered, may be encoded in either of the intervals of first or second signal. That is what's possible. So with these two signals encoded and pulse width as a TP, so here the pulse width is represented as a TP, and the total time duration is 5 TP. You can see that the sync pulses with the duration TP. So T1, so that is the time gap between the sync pulses. T2, again the time gap between the first and second is T1, second and third, that is T2, third and fourth, it is T3. So these are the sync pulses what we come across in a PPM signal with two ECG signals. Then we can see that each pulse interval, so it consists of T1 pulse interval corresponding to sample value of first signal, T2 pulse interval corresponding to sample value of second signal, then T3 compensation time interval. Since the time gap between the pulses represents the sample value, at the receiving end the time gap has to be measured and the value so obtained has to be translated to a sample value. So the time gap, or we already discussed regarding the time gap between the pulses, which is represented by the amplitude of the sample value. At the receiving end, the time gap has to be measured and the value is obtained. So the scheme for decoding based on this process, you can see here. So in this process, the DSP internal timer is being used, and the pulses in this PPM can generate interrupt signals for a DSP. So that is the process involved in the generation of pulses, so that is in PPM, which can generate the interrupt signals for a DSP. Then the interrupt start or terminate the timer. So interrupt start timer or termination of the timer can be considered. Then the count in the timer is equivalent to the sample value that has been encoded. Then ADC is awarded while decoding this particular PPM signal. So the DSP timer is used, and the pulses in the PPM can generate the interrupt signals which are required for the DSP. So we can see that V1 of T is one signal from a DSP timer, and V2 of T is another signal generated by the DSP timer. And these are the DSP interrupts. We can see that it is highlighted in the diagram. So decoding a PPM signal with the two ECG signals. Then a DSP based PPM signal decoding is shown there. PPM signal interface will generate the interrupt for a DSP, and DSP entertains the interrupt and starts the timer. So that is a use of this DSP timer. And when it receives another interrupt, it stops the timer and the count is treated as a digital equivalent of the sample value. So when it receives another input, it stops the timer. So that is the work of the timer. So whenever it receives any other another input, it will stop the timer, and the count is treated as the equivalent digital equivalent of the sampled value. So that is the count what we consider, and the process repeats here. The process repeats DL DAC converter signals encoded into analog signals. Then the heart rate is determined referring to the ECG obtained by decoding. So that is what we consider. Normally the heart rate is determined which is based on this ECG signals in the process. You can see that the DSP based biotelemetry receiver implementation, PPM input and PPM signal interface used in the process, and TMS320C540 interrupt request. We know that the PPM signal will generate the will allow the DSP timer to generate an interrupt signal, and the TMS320 is going to send the interrupt request, and the DL DAC and its interface is being used for ECG and HR, which is heart rate monitoring separately. So HR is a measure of time interval between QRS complexes in an ECG signal. So we have a PQRS signal specified in the ECG waveform, and whenever we consider the interval between these signals PQRS, considering the QRS complex in the ECG, which is the important segment representing the heartbeat, so that we are going to consider. So that is the measure which is required, and there is a periodicity in its appearance indicating the heart rate. So the periodicity of this QRS complex signal will indicate the heart rate. Then the algorithm what we are being using in the process, which is based on first and second order derivatives of the ECG signals. Since we are using a derivative of a signal, the filter what we are going to use is a non-linear filtering process. The filter used is a non-linear filtering process. In this one, mean of half of peak amplitudes is determined, which is a threshold for detection of QRS complex. So we consider the mean, which is nothing but average of half of peak amplitudes. So if I consider the peak amplitudes of QRS signal, then half of such peak amplitudes, mean value or average value of half of those peak amplitudes are considered to be the threshold for the detection of QRS complex. Then QRS interval is then the time interval between two such peaks. So that is a known thing. We have PQRS signal, wherein QRS interval is the time interval between two such peaks. Then time interval between two peaks is determined using internal timer of a DSP. So that is the time interval between these two is identified. Then heart rate, heartbeat rate is computed using the relation HR is equal to sampling rate into 60 divided by QRS interval. So this is how we are going to measure the heart rate for this particular example, where heart rate per minute is measured or computed using the particular relation, and the relation is HR is equal to heart rate is equal to sampling rate. So whatever sampling rate we are going to use in the process multiplied by 60 divided by QRS interval. So QRS interval is obtained by considering the time interval between two peaks, which is nothing but mean of half of these peak amplitudes in the QRS complex signal. So the signals at various stages are the next you can see. So this is an ECG signal, this is a PPM pulse position modulation signal, and decoded ECG signal, and the heart rate which is depending on the QRS complex which is described in the decoded ECG signal. So this is the signals in determination of the heart. That is about the ECG and heart rate measurement, which is an application done using a DSP device. So then what we have is a speech processing system. So in a speech processing system, we normally when we go with the speech processing system, the purpose of this speech processing is for analysis. What type of analysis? It is nothing but transmission or reception, as in the case of radio, or in the case of TV, phone, denoising, compression, and so on. So we are going to analyze various things by changing some parameters during a process here. So that is during a transmission or reception of a signal obtained from a radio, television, phone, or denoising, etc. So these are some of the analysis which can be done. And there are various applications of speech processing like identifying and verifying the speaker or verification of a speaker, and speech synthesis, voice to text conversion, and the text to voice conversion, and so on. So normally when we deal with this speech processing, it is normally for analysis, which is related to certain applications here. That is speech processing, which can include identification and verification of some speaker. Someone may speak, and that has to be considered here as the part of the application. Then a speech processing will have a vocoder, so that is voice decoder, coding and decoding circuit, what we come across as a vocoder, and schematic of speech production. So we can see that further. Then the vocal tract has a vocal cord at one end and mouth at the other end. So that is normally a speech processing system which has a voice coding and decoding circuit. And we can see that the vocal tract has a vocal cord at one end and mouth at the other end. You can see that in the diagram later. And the shape of the vocal tract depends on the position of the lips, jaws, tongue, and the velum. So the shape of the vocal tract depends on all these factors. One is position of a lip, jaw, tongue, and the velum. It decides the sound that is produced. So it will identify the sound produced. And there is another tract called as nasal tract. So movement of velum connects or disconnects the nasal tract. So that is what we consider for a voice processing application. The overall voice, which is dependent on both, that is vocal tract as well as nasal tract. So whatever voice produced, that sounds, that depends entirely on vocal tract and nasal tract. So two types of speech are voiced. Two types of speech are considered. One is voiced sound and unvoiced sound. So this vocal tract is excited with some pulses. So those pulses are quasi-periodic pulses, which are caused due to the air pressure by vibration of vocal cords, resulting in a voiced sound. So whenever we speak or whenever we sing, so vocal tract is excited with some pulses, periodic pulses of air pressure, which is caused by the vibration of the vocal cords, resulting in a sound, which is a voiced sound. And coming to unvoiced sound, it is produced by forcing air through the constriction formed somewhere in the vocal tract and creating turbulence that produces a source of noise to excite the vocal tract. So we can see this is muscle force speech production mechanism highlighted in the diagram. It has got a lungs, trachea, vocal cords, vocal tract, and nasal tract together will contribute to a sound which is produced as a voiced sound. And unvoiced sound is like a noise which is produced due to the turbulence and source of noise which can excite the vocal tract here. So by the understanding of this speech production mechanism, a speech production model can be developed. So a pulse train generator generates a periodic pulse train, then it represents the voiced speech So the pulse train generator normally generates a periodic pulse train, and it represents the voiced speech signal. So this is how the voiced sound and unvoiced sound is produced with the help of nasal tract and the vocal tract uh, in the process of speech production. So this is a mechanism required or involved in the production of a speech. Then noise generator will represent unvoiced speech, and vocal tract system is supplied either with a periodic pulse train or noise, and the final output is a synthesized speech signal. And whenever I consider the frequency of a speech, so that is going to be different. Even that is different for men and women. So the frequency considered in a woman's speech is very high compared to a man. And even if I consider the speech difference among person to person, even the frequency of such speech is going to be different from person to person. So that the sound of a speech which is generated from a person is different from another person. And coming to a speech, it is not a stationary signal, it is non-stationary signal. And it can also be considered to be relatively stationary within the interval of 20 milliseconds. So that is what we have in terms of the stationary and non-stationary signals. Normally speech is a non-stationary signal, but it can be considered as relatively stationary, but only within an interval of 20 milliseconds. And coming to the fundamental frequency of speech, if I want to measure it or I want to determine the fundamental frequency of speech, then it can be obtained by considering the process of autocorrelation, wherein we are going to compare a signal with another signal, which is of same uh, characteristics. That is how we consider the autocorrelation process between two different signals. So that is comparing a signal features with the same signal, and identifying the frequency of such signals. So this is what we have discussed about the ECG and heart rate measurement, the first part of this video, and we have considered the speech production mechanism and discussed about how the vocal tract and nasal tracts are responsible for producing a sound which is an unvoiced and voiced sound. Normally a sound is a speech what we consider, or it may be a noise depending on the frequency generated by the vocal tract. So that is what we consider under this video.